A surprising nomination and a quick confirmation. Ahead on Face the State, former Ohio State football coach Jim Tressel took the oath of office as Ohio's new lieutenant governor just days after Governor DeWine nominated him. In an interview you'll see only on 10 TV, Tressel and DeWine talk about the well-kept secret, why DeWine chose him, and what Tressel's focus will be. A controversial bill banning diversity, equity, and inclusion policies at Ohio public universities and colleges passes in the state Senate. What supporters and opponents are saying as the bill now moves to the House of Representatives. Plus, Senator Bernie Moreno introduces a bill to make English the official language of the United States. Hear from the senator on what the bill would do and why he thinks it's necessary. Welcome to Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. History was made this week with the swearing in of a new lieutenant governor, former Ohio State national championship head football coach Jim Tressel.
And the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
And the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Tressel took the oath of office in front of a large crowd in the state capitol rotunda Friday morning. He is now Ohio's 67th lieutenant governor. Tressel replaces John Husted, whom the governor recently appointed to replace now Vice President J.D. Vance in the U.S. Senate. This all happened very quickly. It was just Monday morning when Governor DeWine nominated Tressel to be his lieutenant governor. Then, 2 days later, the Ohio House and Senate confirmed him, but not unanimously.
31 yeas and 1 nay, the resolution is adopted in title. A resolution to confirm the appointment of James Tressel as Lieutenant Governor of Ohio.
The Senate voted first Wednesday afternoon, confirming Tressel in a 31-1 vote. The House then followed shortly after with a vote of 68-27. Tressel is the former Ohio State football coach who led the Buckeyes to a national championship. He's also the retired president of Youngstown State University. When announcing Tressel as his choice for lieutenant governor, Governor DeWine said Tressel is ready to step in right away if anything were to happen to him. He also said one of Tressel's focuses would be education. Here's what lawmakers said about Tressel becoming the new lieutenant governor.
He talked to me about being deliberative, about including the voices of people that are affected by policies to the table, and I'm very hopeful that that will continue in this new role for him.
Do you have concerns that he has no government or political experience in the form of like being in the legislature?
I don't, actually, because he's a professional. He's actually been in the legislature many times. He's worked with us. I've worked with him in the past on legislative matters.
Has indicated that he picked him because of his stance on education, higher education, K through 12 education, and so that's where I'm focused and had a lot of questions for him yesterday.
10 TV's Dom Taberry sat down for an exclusive interview with Governor DeWine and new Lieutenant Governor Jim Tressel. They talked about the governor's decision to choose Tressel and keeping it a secret until the last minute, Tressel's focus in his new role, and whether he'll run for governor in 2 years. Here's the interview you'll see only on 10 TV.
This was a big secret. And this was a big announcement. How did you keep this under wraps and how long did you know?
Well, not too many people knew. That's how you keep a secret, right? Don't have too many people. Fran and I and a couple of my key people in my office knew, and that was it.
I mean, were you surprised that it didn't leak out? It was
everything leaks out in this town, everything. And so, we were trying to keep it, kind of control it and make the announcement when we wanted to. And I think when we walked in, I think there was a few reporters that might have been a little surprised. Were you surprised?
I was absolutely surprised. I was shocked. Because I've known Tress for a long time, an incredible football coach. He was a college president. What makes you think that he's the perfect fit to be lieutenant governor?
The most important thing is someone who could step in if I couldn't be governor. If something happened to me, I want someone who got great judgment, who's a people person, who knows Ohio, who's a leader. Jim Tressel is all of those things. And you know, Fran and I actually went over to his house, and I called up and said, could we come over and set a time? And Fran and I went up there, and we did get a view of the Buckeye Man Cave, which is, if you have not seen it, you need to go see it. But it's pretty great. But look, I just told him, I said, look, you're the person I would trust if something happened to be. And I think also with your background, particularly at Youngstown State, I've watched what he's done at Youngstown State. He's worked with the business community. He's focused on job creation, economic development, and marrying the university with businesses so kids could have jobs. All of those things are what we have to do in the state of Ohio, and we have to do it even more. So, all those reasons, I thought he was the perfect fit.
Tress, were you surprised? How surprised were you when the governor came knocking, and what made you want to do this?
Well, I think he might have told me he was going to see a grandson play basketball or something. but I was surprised, but I also knew we talked a lot over the years about education and workforce, and you remember back during those COVID times when you were talking every day to everybody about how can we run this university, how can we make the state safe, how can we do the unknown, and so we had talked a lot over the years, and so when he brought up education and workforce, it's something I talked to him a lot about anyway, but yes, I was very surprised.
You were the head coach, not only Youngstown State, but the head coach at Ohio State, and I often said the two toughest jobs in America are governor and football coach, head football coach in Ohio. Do you think there's any overlap? Has that prepared you, being the head coach at Ohio State, for this moment?
I think being a president was harder than being a coach, just because of the enormity of what you're dealing with. Well, just think about being a governor, lieutenant governor. Your team isn't 100 guys and a dozen coaches. It's 10 million people and all these young people. And what I truly believed in about our governor is that he does want every single person in our state to reach their God-given potential, and that education's part of it, and safety's part of it, and workforce and opportunity and all those things. And so when you believe in something that someone else is doing and they want you to come and help, yes, it's harder, but it's good work.
You are one of the most competitive people I've ever met. If you're going to keep score, you want to win. What is winning now, do you think?
That competitive scoreboard of how can we have less people leave our state and go work somewhere else, attract more people to come to our state, to be educated and to get in the workforce, and so those are the things that we'll want to measure, and then just keep having those opportunities come to the state, because everyone recognizes it's a great place with a wonderful lake and a wonderful river and a lot of natural resources and hardworking people, and they have an educated workforce.
I want him to continue to do what he's done. Economic development, job creation, education, how all those things come together. He's really an expert in that area.
Have you been working for this moment, do you think, as you look back, all of this coming to this, you think, or is it just?
It's interesting. You never know what you are going to have a chance to experience. And I remember after our Ohio State coaching days were over, my old mentor, Dr. Spurgeon, said to me, "Your greatest impact is ahead of you." And I wasn't really feeling that at that moment. He said, "If you believe it is." And so from that time on, I got new experiences, whether it was at University of Akron or Youngstown State, or learning a little bit about what Jobs Ohio has done, and all the various times I've had a chance to sit with the governor's people. And so all of a sudden I learned about an exciting world, and now I get a chance to be a part of it.
You guys have not talked about anything other than this, Governor. You talked about would you give him any advice, and how do you think he would do in 2 years, and where are you guys on that?
Well, we have not talked about anything other than the next 100 weeks. And you know, we didn't talk about an election or anything like that. And I think that both of us want to focus on at this point at least, on the job at hand. And we got a lot to do. You know, I've got a clock. Fran showed Jim this clock we have, and it was given to me by Governor Bush from Florida, Jeb Bush. And when I started into the last 4 years, and he said, "Here's a clock. It's a countdown clock. It literally tells you how long you have." And so every day I look at that and think, you know, hey, we better get going. We got a lot to do, and there's a real sense of urgency. And I'm just glad to have Jim as the partner to do this.
You got your eyes wide open. If you like this, is there a chance in 2 years?
We've got 698 days. We're going to stay focused.
You know, last thing, when we were in Atlanta, I asked him a question, and what did you say? You said, "Dom, you always called me the senator when I was coaching,
Right.
and now you're going to be the lieutenant governor."
Well, who'd have believed it?
Also, with Tressel's coaching and athletics background, the governor says they want to do something to improve the physical fitness of Ohio's kids. They don't know yet what form that will take, but they are working to figure that out. You just saw about half of our interview with the governor and lieutenant governor. You can watch the full conversation on 10tv.com. Still ahead on Face the State, a bill that just passed the Senate would ban DEI and faculty strikes on Ohio's public university and college campuses. Next, why the president of the Ohio Education Association says that could drive teachers and students away. Plus, their beautiful roots. 10TV has a roundtable discussion with black women about the importance of their natural hair, why it's about much more than style. Welcome back to Face the State. Right now, a bill that would ban DEI courses and trainings on Ohio's public college and university campuses is one step closer to becoming law. Just days ago, the Ohio Senate passed the Advance Ohio Higher Education Act. Republican lawmakers say it will ensure academic excellence on Ohio's college campuses. Opponents say it will stifle free speech and harm higher education. Senate Bill 1 ended up passing by a vote of 21-11, with 2 Republicans joining Democrats in opposition. Bill's sponsor, Senator Jerry Serino, says it will enhance diversity of thought on campuses by moving discussions more to the center and including more conservative viewpoints. The bill would prohibit universities and professors from taking positions on controversial topics. The measure would also prohibit faculty from going on strike. Opponents say the bill attacks higher education and is legislative overreach.
A lot of it is related to making sure that diversity of thought is practiced as a policy at our universities and community colleges.
It says that it's celebrating free speech at the same time that it's quashing free speech.
We spoke to the Ohio Education Association president about this bill. He tells us it has educators worried.
And so what I hear from our members in higher education is that they're really afraid. They're afraid of losing their voice, losing, their influence over what they do, their academic freedom, which is very important. And what I also hear a lot is that the message that politicians in Ohio are sending is we don't value higher education. And I've heard a lot of stories about people that are really questioning whether they might need to go to another state to teach, and whether they're going to be able to recruit faculty and students to attend Ohio's colleges and universities, given these radical changes that are happening through this legislation.
I also reached out to Ohio State University. A spokesman tells me the university has not taken a position on the bill. The bill still has a long way to go. It goes to the House next, where lawmakers could make changes to it. At the same time, President Donald Trump is pushing to completely shut down the U.S. Department of Education, or at the very least, gut its funding and staff. 10 TV's Kristen McFarland looks into what this could mean for the future of education here in Ohio.
The Education Department was established by Congress, meaning that it would take an act of Congress to close the department. Today, we heard from local leaders in education about their concerns should the department get cut. The United States Department of Education allocates funding for K-12 schools. Part of this funding is for Title I program benefiting over 800,000 students in Ohio who come from low-income families, and the IDEA program, providing fundamental resources for students with disabilities.
If we lose those services, we could see class sizes explode and a loss of thousands of educator jobs.
President of Ohio Education Association Scott DeMauro is headed to Washington, D.C. to voice his concerns to lawmakers.
How soon do you want the Department of Education to be closed?
Oh, I'd like it to be closed immediately. Look, the Department of Education's a big con job.
If the funds are eliminated, it's unclear how schools would come up with the loss of funds.
It has a direct impact on class size, has an impact on working conditions at a time when we are struggling to attract and retain good people to work in our public schools across the state.
The department also works to provide student loans and grants for higher education. Financial experts believe if these programs are eliminated or reduced, students may need to rely on private lenders to help afford college.
I think we need to be funding education, not cutting it. We want educated people, and we should do anything we can to help them.
At this moment, it's unknown if some of the department's programs will be transferred to other agencies and if they will operate at the same impact and scale. Kristen McFarland, 10 TV News.
Some Democratic state lawmakers and community advocates came together to express their support for immigrants in Ohio. They say President Trump's executive orders on illegal immigration are also impacting those here legally. At a news conference, the representatives and advocates stressed a message that immigrants and refugees have a positive impact on communities, economically, artistically, and culturally. They say the president's immigration policies are causing fear, anxiety, and uncertainty for families who are here legally. Dr. Dorothy Hassan with the Central Ohio Rapid Response Network says the anxiety is real. The network makes sure immigrants know their rights, have the best information about what's going on, and have their basic needs.
Every Monday, we are delivering fresh food baskets to families who are so fearful to leave their home that they're not going to the supermarkets.
But I'm here today to tell you that immigration is our strength, not a weakness. Our country, state, and our communities have always been enriched by the contributions of immigrants and refugees.
Dr. Hassan says 2 weeks ago, the Central Ohio Rapid Response Network delivered food to 26 families. Last week, they delivered to 42 families. Governor DeWine also addressed immigration issues last week. He said Ohio is a law-following state and it will follow the law. But he repeated something he has said many times, that legal immigrants are welcome in Ohio. Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno is pushing to make English the official language in the United States. He introduced his bill in the U.S. Senate on Wednesday. Moreno's bill would make it mandatory for all official functions of the U.S. government to be conducted in English. It would also require anyone applying for U.S. citizenship to show they can read and understand English. We talked to Moreno about why he thinks this bill is necessary. He pointed to his history of coming to the U.S. from Colombia as a boy.
I came here as a kid, had to learn the language, had to assimilate to the culture, and I think it's language and culture and history that unite us, and I think it's extremely important for us to do that. Part of the bargain, so to speak, of wanting to accept immigrants from other countries should be an acceptance that you're going to blend in with American culture and honor our traditions, honor our language, and I think it's extremely important for us to do that.
An immigration attorney tells us the current law already requires those seeking citizenship to have an understanding of English and history, with exceptions for the elderly and those with mental impairments. Moreno says if it's already the law, his bill will clarify it. Still ahead on Face the State, an important conversation about hair. As more black women begin to embrace their natural hair, our roundtable discusses its importance personally and culturally, and the challenges they have faced professionally. February is Black History Month, and today we're having a conversation with black women about their hair. For them, every single strand, coil, and curl on their head has been the topic of discussion, and in some cases, discrimination at some point in their lives. That's why just last year, lawmakers tried to pass the Crown Act, which would have prohibited public schools from penalizing students for wearing natural hairstyles. The bill passed the House, but never made it to the Senate for a floor vote. So today we're taking the conversation about hair directly to some local women at the center of it. In partnership with Black Girl Rising, a local nonprofit, we held a panel discussion with women of different ages and perspectives. 10 TV's Rochelle Aline has the story of their beautiful roots.
First of all, thank you guys.
Womanhood is not a universal experience.
We're here to talk about our hair.
A quick poll of 8 Black women across 4 generations about their hair makes that clear.
What was the style growing up?
When I was younger, it was like you had like 4 braids when your mama did them.
If it wasn't dyed and layered and asymmetrical, you really wasn't. You really wasn't cool.
Afros.
Yeah.
We wore afros.
When I got into high school in the late 90s, was at sew-ins, right? Everyone wanted straight hair.
But even with all of this versatility, when it comes to hair, there are still common experiences for Black women.
Do you guys remember a defining moment, or was there a time where you recognized, like, my hair in and of itself may not be what's in or accepted?
When you go to apply for a job, you have to fit in to get in.
And I remember my first job, 4 weeks in, I'm probably 3 hairdos in, and my supervisor comes to me and she says, Delina, I searched for you on the Most Wanted because you change your hair so much. And I was like,
And to assimilate, many turn to a treatment to loosen or straighten their locks for years.
Can I just ask by show of hands who's had a perm here? Wow.
And can I clarify, are we talking about perm or a relaxer? Because those are 2 different things, right?
You're right. So I guess a relaxer. I know sometimes we use it interchangeably. So yeah, a relaxer. Yeah. Every single. I mean, I'm the anomaly. Most Black women have had a relaxer at some point in their life.
Starting at 8.
And now health concerns are turning many of those women off.
2013, I decided there was no more relaxers for me. It's because my first cousins, we've all been getting relaxers since 8 and 9 years old. And all of the females that I just named all have fibroid tumors. We all do. And we're like, wait a minute. I started doing research, saw a slight association, a correlation to our relaxers, and I just asked the family as a whole, can we as a family stop doing this?
The companies, they're not looking out for us. They're looking out for the economical, they're looking for that.
What does accountability look like? What should it look like?
We as Black women are an economic force. These companies are run by multimillionaires. We have power in our economic voice.
And I think it's the exposure, to your point too, right? Making it widely known, putting the labels on there, the warning, right? Leaving it, up to the buyer, but make it known.
I think accountability starts within the community, because if we don't educate each other, how can we collectively rise up and say we don't want to support this brand?
Through this conversation, I hope it will spark other people to think about not only our conversation and what's in our products and how we do our hair, but to think about why do these Black women have to have a conversation around this.
We have to talk to our children, the ones that we touch, about loving your hair the way it is.
In Columbus, Rochelle Aline, 10 TV News.
Rochelle's story was just a small portion of the 1-hour discussion we held with Black Girl Rising. To see the full conversation, head to 10 TV Plus, which is our free streaming service on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Thank you for joining me this week for Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. I'll see you next Sunday at 11:30.